ओके, डायरेक्ट चैट हो रही है, एवरीवन वाला ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा है, ऐसा क्यों? ओके, लेट मी सी। मैं आई थिंक मैजिक हो रहा है ये, तो आज एवरीवन वाला चैट नहीं आएगा, राइट? यूट्यूब, ओके, हाँ डेफिनेटली अभिषेक, हम लोग ना नेक्स्ट वीक से थोड़ा यूट्यूब पे ज्यादा एक्टिव हो जाएंगे, अभी कुछ और काम फंसे हुए थे, but I'll be more active on YouTube from next week anyways. So I have been getting a lot of messages from you guys saying that अपना स्कोर उसमें नहीं बढ़ रहा LRDI में, ठीक है? So what I'm doing is, बोलिए वाला so again, see, LRDI by design is that kind of a section where marks would be, एक सेकेंड, इसमें लिखा एनमैट और बाकी सब के बारे में डाउट्स इकट्ठे हो रहे हैं. सो वेदर दीज डाउट्स आर रिगार्डिंग एनमैट द पेपर या फिर क्वेश्चंस? ओके, क्या फॉर्म के रिगार्डिंग? ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वीक पक्का से एक सेशन कर लेंगे इसको, एनमैट फॉर्म से रिलेटेड. मैं लिख लेता हूँ, नहीं तो भूल जाऊंगा. एनमैट फॉर्म हो जाएगा नेक्स्ट वीक. एनमैट फॉर्म वाला एक सेशन कर लेंगे पक्का से, राइट? थैंक्स मैन अभिषेक. Chalo, so yeah, a lot of people have been saying that marks in LRDI not increasing, or you know, उसमें issue हो रहा है. इसमें लिख नहीं सकता क्या? ना just give me a couple of minutes. Yeah. ठीक है, ठीक है. तो या हाँ, ये प्रीवियस पेपर है. So basically, LRDA, a lot of people have been messaging me saying that marks are not increasing in LRDA. Now the problem with LRDA is it is that kind of a section, because if you end up picking up a wrong set, things go down south. Now this is the actual paper from 2021, last year का paper है. This is slot 1. So this is the paper that I gave, right? Just wanted to run through what really happened in the paper and what were the couple of things that probably I did wrong and what are a couple of things that probably I did right. Okay. So now the context here is while giving, when I sit for CAT, VARC में what I'm essentially doing is I'm trying to do everything. ठीक है, ठीक है, लिख नहीं रहे आधा घंटा. अरे तेरी, एक सेकेंड, ये समाव इसके लिख नहीं रहा है. Not able to write.
Sir, change the color one.
Color, okay. और वो कहाँ से होगा? ओके, इस पे तो लिख रहा है बट इस पे नहीं लिख रहा. Wow, this, really sorry for this. So let me think of something else. Just give me a couple of minutes. इसको मैं figure out करता हूँ. 1 minute देना बस मेरे को. Yoga down. How do I write on this? Where is the liquid? नहीं हो पाएगा. चलो पीडीएफ पे ही देखता है. जस्ट ओपन एक एक करके वो खोल दूंगा इसके बाद. So anyways, so what had happened was, when I'm trying to solve, I'll just go on to the whiteboard. Yeah. So the context is, when I'm attempting the paper, CAT paper, English is something where I try to attempt everything. उसके बाद जब LRDI में आता हूँ, again जो set समझ आ जाए वो करो. Actually, I go from question 1 to the last question. Maths for me, I feel is a set where I am able to do decently. हुआ नहीं है वो अलग बात है. That does not really happen, but yeah. So because I know my strongest section is in the end, वो confidence वाला issue नहीं होता है, and therefore I will keep going. Now, when I started this paper, I had attempted all the 24 questions in English, out of which I was sure of about 17 odd questions. मेरे को पता था वो तो सही हो ही जाएंगे. Question था about the rest of the things. So a score of about 55, 57 I was expecting in English, right? उसके बाद आया था ये section LRDI. So what happened was, as the section started, my first question was this one. So this question, if you can see, it reads, if you've attempted this question, says Ganga, Kaveri, Narmada are 3 women who buy raw materials. There are 4 raw materials. They make 5 products. Table 1 gives the information about the raw materials required to produce the 5 finished products. 1 unit of finished product requires 1 unit of each raw material mentioned, and so on. So this was what was written. Out of the milk, mango, apple, सबका cost दिया हुआ है. Then there is it says that there is a profit that is happening on all of the finished products. So how to calculate the profit, that is given. And towards the end, it tells you that whatever whatever product has not been used will be sold at a loss of 1 rupee per unit. Then it said in the 4 business hours, what is the total money that each of them earned? Someone is unmuted, so if you can just, someone is unmuted, if you can just mute yourself, great. And then there were 4 conditions given. No one except Ganga sold any mango smoothie, and so on, right? Now what happened was, I started with this set. I feel out of the 4 sets, this was one of the most difficult sets, in the sense that करने की जरूरत नहीं थी. But because it was my first set, and I was under the impression that I have 40 minutes, I will be able to do all the 4 sets, 10 minutes per set. I started with the set. It took me about 12 minutes, and I was not able to figure out. Now, the fact that this set might not have been solved was written in the questions itself. If you look at question number 7, it says what best can be concluded. And therefore, if the options are either 1, 2, either 0, 1 or 2, and so on. So there were likely to be 3 cases possible, right? And this thing was repeated further when we went on to question number 9. In question number 9, all the options were either this or that. Therefore, if you solved this question, what was likely to happen was, there would be multiple cases, or at least 2 to 3 cases that would be formed. Therefore, question 9 has options which are either or sense, right? And probably because of that, this question was not to be attempted. The bad thing was, I did not go through all the sites that were there, and I started this question. It took me about 12 minutes. I was not able to solve it. basic table बन गया था, right? But the good thing that I did was, so this is my attempt sheet that was there. Yeah, this is the actual attempt sheet for CAT 2022 from slot 1 that I got from CAT. So if I look at the questions, और ये मैं कई बार बोल चुका हूँ, individually I've told this to a lot of you guys, that try to attempt questions. So what I mean by that is, see, as I'm saying, I was not able to solve the question. Eventually, किसी ने doubt भेजा तो मैंने question solve किया था. It was not that difficult, हो गया था. But if you look at it, this is question number 1. Even though I was not able to solve the question number 1 I was able to partially solve, right? So this is the question that I got correct. I also tried to attempt the second, one of the questions where, which was fill in the blanks, theta type. So I tried to attempt this as well. I got this wrong. But my point is, net मेरे को इस पे 2 number तो फिर भी मिल गए, right? Luckily for me, and some of my students had this problem. उन्होंने इससे शुरू किया, यार वीडियो बंद कर ले प्लीज, दीप्तोनल. Thank you. So one of my students started with this set, and then unfortunately the set that he got was the last one, जो again नहीं करने वाला था. Luckily for me, this was my second set. Now, the good thing about this is it is a simple bar graph, and if you look at the numbers are very very simple. 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5 and so on. इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा effort नहीं लगना था. Because this was my next set, things were very easy for me because I was able to solve all the questions from this set. So all this says is, the bar gave you the sales for 2020 and the mark on the bars gave you the sales for 2019. Approximate values were to be found out. For example, if you look at question number 5, the total sales of 2019 from product in office supplies. So office supplies were, I think, the middle values. Top 4 were furniture, bottom 4 were accessories, the rest were office supplies. So from point number 1, 2, 3, 5, from binders to supplies, these were office supplies, and we just had to find out the total sales for 2019. So all you had to do was look at these values and start adding. So if I start from binders, this was approximately 3.6, 0.5, 4.1, 4.1 and 2, 6.1, 6.2 and point, इन दोनों को मिला के 0.5 कर लो, 6.6, 6.9, 7, 6.9, 7.9, 8.4 and so on. इसको बस add करना था, and therefore was a very easy set. Again, why it was an easy set was because if you look at all the questions, you will realize the values are pretty small. These are values which you will be able to solve orally. You don't have to really resort to the calculator, number 1. Second was the fact that all of these questions had exact answers, right? None of them said none of these or either this or that. Also, question number 8 here was the only question where you had to calculate 3 separate values. But even then, in question number 8, if you just looked at it properly, so basically here it said we had to find out the percentage increase from 19 to 2022 for the different sets given. So if I look at this set here, from books, to tables, you will see that this value has increased, the other values have not changed too much. If you look from binders to supply, you will realize there is a big increase here, there is a big increase here, there is a big increase here, right? So 3 or 4 values have increased drastically. Also because overall these values are lesser. So the average value will for this group will be lesser than the furnitures. So by default, the percentage increase will be higher. Similarly, if you looked at the last group, you will realize there is a huge increase in 3 of the 4 values, right? And therefore, the percentage increase was likely to be here. So by visual observation, एक चीज पता चल रही थी, furniture was likely to have the lowest rate of increase, and only one option had furniture as the first option, right? So even if you were calculating very vaguely, you would be able to spot the answer, right? Therefore, this was a set which had to be done. For me, this set happened in about, I think, 4.5 or odd minutes. So, जो मैं lag कर रहा था, I was able to make it up for it. Then there was this next set which was a cross table. So it said there are 6-7 people. Amongst them are friends, acquaintances, and strangers, right? Every group, every relationship was mutual. So if one person was a friend of the other person, it was vice versa as well. So if A was a friend of B, B was a friend of A as well, right? Now, again, this I think conceptually was a good problem because see, if I look at the first set, all you had to do was fit in numbers, right? There were cases involved, so because of that, it could have gotten lengthy. Otherwise, conceptually, it was pretty simple. The second set again was a simple bar chart. The last set in this paper was again a table arrangement. This set was conceptually the best set. So if you understand the concept of permutations, if you understand the concept of cross tables, you would be able to comprehend it better, right? For example, if I ask you how many relationships will be formed in this entire set. So there are 7 people. Every person has a relationship with the other person. They could be friends, acquaintances, or strangers. How many relationships will be formed? Not for each person, total number of relationships. 28, 42. अच्छा. Actually, 42. Actually, 42 means 21 because if I know that A and B are friends, I by default know B and A are friends, right? तो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ मुझे सिर्फ 21 वैल्यूज निकालनी थी. उसमें से भी काफी सारी वैल्यूज यहाँ दी हुई थी. A, B, C are mutual strangers. A, D, F, E are friends with E. C and G are friends among themselves. Every friend of A is an acquaintance for P and vice versa. So if you look at it, about 8 to 9 values are given to you as it is. Also, whenever you get a table, always try to put in a flag check to see what is the total of that table, right? What will be the constraint here? In this table, if I'm trying to fill numbers, what are the numbers that I can fill without thinking? Total 7 नहीं, देखो यही बात है, total 7 नहीं होगा. If there are 7 people, there will be, the total will be 6. You will not have a relationship with your, मतलब ठीक है, not philosophically, but yeah, उसको नहीं मिलाना ना, वही तो बोल रहा हूँ. ये जो अमुधा है, A will not have a relationship with A. I am looking at A's relationship with B, C, D, E, F, G. So the total in every row has to be 6. अब चल गया, बताओ. Anyway, so the total in each row has to be 6. So because यहाँ 4 और 1 दिया था, I know the number here has to be 1. Right? Similarly, here I had 3 and 2, which is 5. So the number here had to be 1. That becomes the starting point, and from there I could have gone through with the question. Anyone who understands the concept of filling tables and cross tables, what I mean by cross tables is, another way of looking at this question would have been, so when I did the table, when I did this question, all I did was I said, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the people. And I started filling in this table itself. So because the number for A was 114, I just wrote the relationship as it is. For example, it was given to me that A and E are friends. So I made an entry for E here, and in front of E, I made an entry for A. So that is how I filled the table. But what you could also have done was you could have done a cross table where you say A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. They will have a relationship amongst A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Something like this. ठीक है, यहां पे से क्रॉस टेबल बनाना चालू करते हैं. Now what will happen is, because A and A, B and B, C and C, D and D, E and E, and F and F, G and G will not have a relation between themselves. These rows will obviously be blank, and then I can fill whatever happens. For example, A and E are friends, so I fill an F here, and by default there will be an F here. So whatever table that you get here, you will get the exact reverse of it on the top as well, right? So a cross table would have been a good way of solving this set, right? Kind of, yes. Right? उसके बाद फिर आप total check कर लो. For example, यहाँ पे 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 है. So there have to be, in case of A, there have to be 4 S's, 3, 4 में 4 S's, 1 A and 1 F. So because there is an F here, there cannot be any further F put in this row. Similarly, there cannot be any further F put in this row. So if you were doing this, ये question हो जाता. I started doing the question because the number of people was less again. I was able to do this question. This ended up taking another say 7 or 8 minutes, and this question was done. इसमें because there were 6 questions, सारे के सारे हो गए थे. And again, why this question should have been done is because if you look at the options, you will realize all the options were, none of them were none of these or this or that. Definite tha. So none of them were indefinite options, right? Therefore, there would be one case that will be formed and you will be able to solve this question. Isliye, again, this question was doable. Also, if I look at this third set versus the fourth set, so the fourth set was this one. So it said there are eight authors who are publishing 18 papers which will be printed in 4 months, such that there are 5 papers printed in January and April, then 4 papers each printed in July and October. Also, each of these persons was from a country. Bilkul. Each of these people were from a country, and they were from a division as well amongst manufacturing, automation and logistics. And then there were conditions given. So whether this set should have been attempted or the previous one should have been attempted, देखो, for the simple reason that यहाँ पे data कम है. Though 2 cases are risky. One where the entire data is maybe 2 or 3 lines. There you will have to find a lot of values. Second risky set is where there is a lot of data, because at one point you will lose track of the number of points that there are. Right? For example, if I ask you to summarize the conditions given in this set, you look at it, you will remember those set. Right? But अगर गलती से ये वाला उठा लोगे ना, यहाँ पे बहुत सारा data था, and therefore, as Ritik says, a lot of students had this problem. शुरू किया, some of us were able to solve which person is from which country and from which division. For some of them, they were able to solve which the number of papers they have printed and in which months they have been solved. Right? So, जैसे ऋतिक बोल रहा है, आधा ही क्वेश्चन सॉल्व हुआ, राइट? अब देखो, आधा क्वेश्चन सॉल्व होने से हुआ क्या? ये मेरा रिस्पॉन्स शीट ही है. So, because I attempted, I was able to solve half of it. I attempted 2 or 3 questions here, जिसमें से 2 सही हो गए. And now what this did was, in amongst the sets which I was not able to solve completely, I attempted 4 questions, out of which I got 3 correct, and therefore I got 9 extra marks. Otherwise, I had done only 10 questions. Because of those 10 questions and 9 extra marks, my score went on to 39. After normalization, it was increased to, I think, 41 or something, and therefore my percentile in this section was 99.82. Right? Those 3 questions will go a long way in increasing your score. ठीक है? एक second. Okay, Mana says if after doing 2 sets there are 7-8 minutes left and I've not been able to solve. So basically what he's saying is 2 sets ho gaya. I've attempted 1 set which I was not able to solve, and then there are 7-8 minutes left. If you have 7-8 minutes left, it is a good idea to look at the new set, right? Because देखो, original set है जिसमें वैसे भी कुछ नहीं हुआ था, उसमें again do not put in more than 2.5 minutes towards the end. उसके अलावा डाल के कुछ भी नहीं होगा. अगर पहले 10 मिनट में नहीं होगा, अगले 8 मिनट में भी नहीं होने वाला है. इससे बेटर है नया सेट उठाओ. Don't try to do the entire set. Solve half the set. Look at the questions. You will invariably be able to spot 1 or 2 questions that can be done. And see, I am not saying this just because कुछ बोलना है. I do this every year. मैं आपको अपनी सारी response sheets दिखा सकता हूँ. Every year, from in the LRD, I said 2 or 3 sets are something that I am able to solve completely. बाकी सब इधर से 2-3 question होते हैं, right? My percentiles in LRDI have not been 100 or 99.99. वो कमी होती है 99.6, 99.8, 99.7. But the point is, because of those 3-4 questions, my overall percentile gets a big jump, right? So the aim has to be, if it is a LRDI section where there are 4 sets, try to do 2 and you are in safe category. From then on, just try to look at 1 or 2 questions from both the sets remaining. Your percentile will reach 99 plus. Right. Also, please understand, in the LRDI section, accuracy is critical, because if I'm going to attempt 8 questions, I have to get those 8 right. Right. So ideally, in the best case possible, nahi, Arundhati, see, that is the whole problem. If you are able, in an arrangement set, if you are able to keep all the information in your head at one time, you will be able to draw it better, because you won't have to refer to the data set again and again. मैं वही बोलना चाह रहा हूँ. For example, if I ask you to read these 5 constraints given in this set, right, and try to repeat them, there is a good chance you might be able to repeat them. Right? For example, A, B, C are strangers amongst themselves. For E, there were 3 friends given. For A and B, there was a cross amongst friends and acquaintances. For 1 point miss karo, Chandan and Gautam were friends. That's it. There are 5 points given. So while I am drawing the arrangement, I will remember these 5 points. I will be able to annote those points on my sheet. But if I ask you to recall these points, you will not be able to recall them. Ek bhi point miss hoga, you will start going in circles. So when the information is very, very less, you will have to create a lot of information, risk hai. When the information is too much, you will have to arrange a lot of things which you will not be able to recall. So see, when you're doing arrangement, what you're trying to do is your text, hai na, usko you're trying to convert it into a picture in front of you on paper, right? So more things that you're able to write on the paper in one go, in one vision, the higher chances you have of converting that or making that arrangement done, right? When the information is too much, that does not happen. It does not come down on paper in one vision, and therefore you tend to miss information, and the circle goes on. Should we attempt it first? What would be the time you would be willing to? So when you say multi-arrangement set, you're talking about this 4th set on the screen. See, again, it's a personal thing. Some of, typically some people are better at LR, some are better at DI. If I have to choose, I will always choose a DI set over an LR set. Especially one where numbers are not to be filled. Because personally, I'm more comfortable with numbers. If it is a DI set where numbers are not to be filled, I am sure I will get the answer. So even if it takes 12 minutes, I know I'll have 4 or 6 answers on the sheet. Right? In an LR set, what happens is, if I miss out on information, I might again just keep going on circles and उसमें कुछ mark नहीं होगा. Okay? And as I said, after a point, when nothing is left, I tend to choose these points. But again, this set is something that I would have, as it is, picked up in at the end, because there is too much information here. I know ये मैं paper पे नहीं बना पाऊंगा. But there is a personal bias. I am more comfortable with, or at least I feel I am more comfortable with numbers, and I also have a calculator on the screen. So I would prefer doing a DI set where data is not to be filled first, because it is a sure shot answer. Once that is done, I might come to other questions. Also, this depends on how many questions you're going to attempt. See, even when there were 8 sets coming, even in that case, I was able to run through at least all the sets. So 2016 mein, out of the 8 sets, I attempted about 24. I attempted 5 sets completely, and for the rest 3 sets, I was able to attempt 2 sets incompletely. So I attempted 1 or 2 questions from that set. There was just 1 set that I left out. So because I'm going through the entire paper, I would be able to give time to all the sets. Therefore, DI में पहले कर लेता हूँ, because I'm sure कि उस marks आ जाएगा. If you are struggling with going through the entire paper, it makes, then what you do is you try to do the LR question first, because अगर वो हो गया तो पूरा होगा. And DI you give towards the end, because in the DI set all the questions are separate in a way. So even if you're not able to solve the entire DI set, you will be able to get at least 1 or 2 questions. For example, ये जो second वाला set था इसमें, suppose there is someone who comes to this set in the end, right? कौन सा set बोल रहा हूँ, ये वाला, right? Suppose you come to this set in the end, then you have maybe 3 minutes left, 3.5 minutes left. Even in that case, you will be able to solve at least a couple of questions, right? The first question might be solved. The second question might might be tried and solved. The second question was actually small. We just had to find the increase in the furniture category. So if you look at furniture, there are 4 values. Add them, the total comes out to 14.5, and the increase is about 1.4. So about 10% was the answer, and therefore you just had to mark 8%. So even if I'm left with 1.5, 2 minutes, I would be able to get this set and move on. So if you are in a position where you have enough time to go through the entire paper and give some time to each set. If you are working at that speed, then try to finish off DI first, because you'll be sure of getting answers. If you are not able to give time to all the sets, then leave DI for the end, because you would know how much time you have left and therefore how many questions you're going to attempt. So that is what I would do. Engineering thing nahi hai yaar. Engineer, I am a lousy engineer. इंजीनियरिंग में कुछ नहीं हुआ. प्रैक्टिस बहुत ज्यादा है. As a student, I practice a lot. मेरे को I actually remembered all my books. इतनी बार practice कर लिया था. Cover to cover मेरे को सारी books याद थी अभी. And I'm not exaggerating. मुझे cover to cover सारी अपनी books याद थी. Even the English book I had practiced, revised at least 3 times. RC वाली किताब बोल रहा हूँ. If you show me a question from that 2007-8 mocks, I will be able to tell you whether I've attempted the question or not. अच्छा, एक बात बोलता हूँ. Sometimes जब group पे question आता है, I'm able to respond very quickly, right? Because वो question पहले किया होता है, so the photo is there with me, and therefore I just select it and send. But the point is I remember the question because इतनी बार कर लिया, समझ रहे हैं? So practice बहुत important है. This has to be second nature. It's not as if हाँ ठीक है. It has to be second nature. Question आता है तो मैं solve करता हूँ. And for an arithmetic question, I have never looked at the solution till date. Till I've spent at least 7 to 8 days on the question, I've never looked at a question for arithmetic. I've never looked at a solution. If there is a question, I will solve it. So what happens is when you're doing that, you end up trying everything that you know, right? So you have a very good idea of your depth, and you also understand कि क्या-क्या चीज apply हो सकती है. For example, number system जो आप उठाते हो ना, तो number system आज ही किसी से बात हुई थी. हाँ. When you pick up number systems, for example, so CAT probably would have out of 22, maybe 4 or 5 questions outright your number systems. But if you're thorough with number systems, you'll realize you can do anything with numbers. जो बोलते हैं ना put values and check, वो सब number systems में होता है. Because when say there is a question on remainders and you don't know how to solve it, what you'll do is you will start writing the numbers and seeing when the pattern repeats. When you've done that exercise, you're okay with it because you'll be able to do it in the exam as well. नहीं, set difficulty में the first thing is in the CAT examination, always remember chances of you doing a new question are very, very remote because the pressure is extreme. For people like us, जिनका कुछ नहीं लग रहा है, even if the CAT bombs for me, it does not matter. आके मैं बहाना मार दूँ, I'll say अरे मैं तो paper attempt ही नहीं किया था. A lot of faculty do that, right? So there is nothing at risk. हम लोग के लिए चल जाते हैं, but as a student who or especially when you put in a good amount of effort and time, there is a lot at risk. In that pressure to expect you to do a new question does not happen. So the question that is asked is, how do you identify difficulty? For me, the first thing is there has to be familiarity. If you look at the set and you're not able to figure out क्या करना है, leave that set. At least for the beginning, leave that set. Second is it has to be something that your familiarity, and the second is comfort. So as I said, DI versus LR, I'm more comfortable with DI, so I tend to choose DI. अगर नहीं है, then I'll go to LR, right? Third comes whether the question is something that is deterministic or indeterministic. So if it is a deterministic question, chances of attempting that question are higher. If it is an indeterministic question, I might actually just put it off because cases are to be formed. I might miss out on some information on the other. So familiarity, comfort, and then comes whether it is deterministic or non-deterministic while choosing LRDI set. और बताओ. And again, yeah, so one of the bad things that I did, and this is something that I've been doing for the past 3 years, 3 जब से देखो तब से यही हो रहा है, because I get stuck with questions. I have not been able to choose sets in LRDM. अगर choose करके करूंगा ना तो I'm very sure attempt थोड़ा बढ़ जाएगा, because out of 4 I'll be able to solve 3 sets. If I had not wasted time on the first set in the paper, I would have been able to do 3 complete sets. My attempt would have been 16. Right? But वो नहीं हो पाया for the simple reason that I wasted 12 minutes on the first set. So that is one bad thing that I think happens with me regularly. I start from question 1, try to go to the last question. That should not be done. Spend 2, 3, 4 minutes trying to figure out कौन सा set करना है. Commit yourself to sets. If you are not able to commit to questions, at least eliminate questions. Even that will do for me. If you know that this is something that I don't have to touch, you will still end up saving time. वो भी चलेगा. But either commit to questions or leave questions, number 1. Once you've done that, then you start in that order. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Even in the English section, I always, my suggestion always is, don't start from question 1. Just click on the tabs and see how many questions are there, how many passages are there, and how many questions are there in each passage. From there, choose the passage and then start. Right? Because the time wasted in questions that you do not attempt is something that kills you. That puts a lot of pressure on the question that you could have solved, and you tend to do mistakes in those questions. So agar aapne, and this is something that you should do in your analysis as well, just look at the unproductive time in the paper. You will be surprised sometimes, especially when a section does not go well. Just look at the time which was spent on questions which you did not attempt. I mean, out of 40 minutes, almost 20-25 minutes are spent on questions that you're not going to answer. If you're not going to answer, why are you spending time on them? अगर वही 25 मिनट का काम मैं 3-4 मिनट में कर लूं, I commit to a question or I leave it, तो मेरा कितना मतलब it becomes a lot easier for me to attempt what I'm going to attempt. समझ रहे हो? And please understand, हम बहुत ज़्यादा we obsess a lot about speed. You do not need speed unless you are scoring something above 120. तुम्हें speed नहीं चाहिए. 120 का score means 40 questions. 40 questions in 2 hours. यार ये 3 minutes per question है तुम्हारे पास. 3 minutes per question के लिए speed थोड़ी चाहिए. You just have to understand choice. What is to be chosen. तो वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, मैंने इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ, I understand willingly time waste नहीं करते, धतूरा आगे थोड़ी बैठोगे, willingly time waste करोगे. My point is, वो जो hope है ना, hope is a good thing, but in the questions you have to be practical. You have to know क्या आता है क्या नहीं आता. समझ रहे हो? So when you are practicing as well, do it like that. अगर if you say there is a topic which you are strong at, you have to be really thorough with it. उसमें से कुछ भी पूछेगा तो मैं कर लूंगा. समझ रहे हो? So when you sit down there's this analysis that people give out saying the questions were easy, the questions were difficult. I for one do not believe in that analysis. मैं भी जो बोल रहा हूँ ज्ञान की बात है सारी. Because easy or difficult तो मेरा है, तुम्हारा थोड़ा ही है. Everyone will have a different standard. किसी के लिए कुछ easy होगा, किसी के लिए कुछ difficult होगा. It has to be personal. It cannot be common for everyone. Right? So understand your easy topics, understand your difficult topics, and then start committing to questions or at least rejecting questions. यार ये नहीं होगा मेरे से. आज भी मैं बता रहा हूँ, in the last 4 years if you pick up, जितने भी log के सवाल आए, I might not have been able to do 2 or 3, right? But in my head I know मुझे log नहीं आता है. So in the paper, whenever there is a log question, I leave it and move forward. कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि I got stuck with the log question and therefore I ended up not attempting the last 3 questions. That has touchwood never happened so far. पता नहीं आता यार, टाइम बचेगा देख लेंगे, नहीं तो छोड़ देंगे, क्या दिक्कत है. टाइम वहां लगाऊंगा जो आता है. Getting my point? नहीं अरुंधति, नहीं. Again, Arundhati says time is lost in questions that you know the concept. ऐसा कुछ होता ही नहीं है. If you know the concept, you will get the question right. अगर question सही नहीं हो रहा है, there is a gap in the concept. Logically सोचो ना, if you know the concept, if you know the question, वो question तो solve होगा. It might take 8 minutes, it might take 7 minutes, but question तो solve होगा ना. If you're not able to solve that question, इसका मतलब there is a gap in the concept, right? Percentages, I know everything. I know every concept in percentage. I can rewrite every concept that is there. Rewrite in the sense, without a book, I can write everything that is given in the set, in the book. ठीक है? कोई भी formula मैं उसे derive कर सकता हूँ. मुझे वो confidence है. अब if there is a question, तो solve होना ही होना है. नहीं होगा, I will start assuming numbers and solve it eventually. Getting my point? अगर नहीं हुआ इसका मतलब concept का issue था. There was some वो, and there is this method written by some person, I don't remember name. So he says, how well you know a concept, uska test ye hota hai, if you can explain that concept to a layman person, someone who does not know it, right? Feynman, thank you Revan, right? Feynman ka learning concept hai kuch to ye. If you can do that, then you know the concept, otherwise you don't have grasp on that concept. The idea is, if you have learned a topic and you can explain that topic to a student of class 8th who does not know what that topic is about, then you know the concept, otherwise you don't. फॉर्मूला कितने ही याद कर लो, वहां जाके भूल जाओगे या फिर ये समझ नहीं आएगा अप्लाई कहाँ करना. लेकिन अगर इफ यू नो हाउ टू अराइव एट दैट फॉर्मूला, वो वहां पे अप्लाई हो ही जाएगा, राइट? चलो, आज ज्ञान सेशन ही था, मेरा पेन भी नहीं चल रहा था, सो आई कुड नॉट रियली सॉल्व. In the next week, एक चीज जो हम डेफिनेटली करेंगे, we'll do the NMAT form, and if there is something that you think we should do in terms of ideas, please drop in ideas, okay? NMAT LR करते हैं. इसके वीडियोस भी काफी सारे बना लिए, so वो भी मैं शेयर करवाता हूँ. ठीक है, फॉर्म्स तो कर लेंगे, बट NMAT के लिए हाँ, there are videos that we have done. There are some practice questions as well, वो मैं अपलोड करवाता हूँ. When to drop a set if we are making no headway, what to do if there is no headway in the chosen set and we are not familiar with the others? Okay. When to drop a set, if there is no headway, ideally you should stop in about 5 to 6 minutes. If the set is not happening, chances are it will not happen. But again, this will be different for everyone depending on your processing speed. 5 to 6 minutes is a good enough idea. What to do if there is no headway in a chosen set and we are not familiar with the others? Like, if this happens, if in the exam you realize कि तुमसे कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है, the best thing that you can do is close your eyes, put your head down, switch off. पर again, ये मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा. I am very, very serious about this. अगर कुछ नहीं हो रहा होगा ना, just switch off for a couple of minutes and then start again afresh. Because see, in the CAT paper is designed for aptitude testing. It is designed so that someone who has no prior knowledge will be able to do the paper. CAT का premise तो यही है ना. Engineers are giving the paper, people with a commerce background are giving the paper, doctors are giving that paper. So it has to be common for everyone. Right? So what I'm saying is, if you're not able to do something, it is probably a mental block. For example, लोग बोलते हैं कोई भी passage समझ नहीं आ रहा है. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. When there could be difficulty, you might find it hard to comprehend, but if you're not comprehending it, it is probably because your focus is somewhere else, and therefore you end up rereading the paper again and again, right? So उस point पे it is a good idea to just switch off. And ये something that I always tell my students is कि यार जब आप mock दे रहे हो या CAT लिखोगे ना, please understand you are giving 3 different papers. English खत्म हुआ, drop that then and there. Start afresh for LRDI. LRDI खत्म हुआ, drop it then and there. Start afresh with maths. Your LRDI performance will not help you, or it should not affect your quant performance and vice versa. ठीक है, 3 अलग अलग पेपर दे रहे हैं, therefore वो 40 minute sprint की आदत डालो. And अगर कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, then the problem is not with the paper, the problem then probably is in your head. And I am sure you guys will come across this situation जहाँ पे किसी mock में लगे यार कुछ नहीं हो रहा मेरे से. होता है, कभी कभी वो mental block होता है. Switch off. In that case, just try to get one question at a time. So if you're in the LRD, I said you spend 10 minutes, कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा, दिख नहीं रहा, क्या करना है, 2 मिनट में शांत हो जाओ, erase the sheet, or rather change, come to a new sheet, start afresh, try to do just one set. अगर वो भी कर लिया, you would have salvaged the LRDS section in that case. But if you keep trying what is not working, तो फिर वो section गया ही गया, right? I could not do fast. Okay. After mocks, I can able to solve all the set without time limit. कोई बात नहीं, अभी जो आपका स्कोर आ रहा है ना उसको आप 20% बढ़ा लो और just try to attempt that many questions in the time limit. When you achieve that, try to do 20% more. Don't look at solving 66 questions abhi, है ना? So if you are getting a score of say 30, so you're doing 10 questions in the paper, try to do 12 questions the next time. Once you're able to do those 12 questions, try to do 15 questions in the entire paper and slowly increase your score. Don't try to attempt say 30 questions right from 10. वो नहीं होता है. कुछ भी कर लो वो नहीं होगा, वो gradually ही होगा. So try to attempt 20%, 25% more questions than what you attempted in your current attempt. Just do that, and that is good enough for now. All right. SK. हाँ मुझे मालूम है, मैंने इसीलिए देखो I did not know your score पर लगभग सेम बता दिया ना, तो एक्सपीरियंस है. मैं इसीलिए बोल रहा हूँ अगली बार try to do about 13 questions in 12 questions. Try to do 12 questions. So 5 questions attempt करना बस in each section. वो कर लेगा accuracy से, फिर हम उसको 7 बनाएंगे, फिर आगे बढ़ेंगे. ठीक है. 5 का 15 ओवरनाइट नहीं होता है, तो क्यों why spoil your mood thinking I'll get 15. शांति 5 अगली बार 7. All right. चलो. So thank you very much for today. Do drop in ideas that you have. अगर तुम्हें लगता है कुछ करना चाहिए, please drop in a message and we'll do that. And next week we definitely do NMAT and Snap forms, पक्का से, right? And also we'll get active on YouTube. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure as usual, and see you soon. Take care. Bye bye. Good night.